Welcome back to the Lone Ranger Radio Show. Bruce Woodburn, Cross Country Mortgage, right here. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. What's going on in the market? How does the war affect mortgage rates? What's it doing to real estate right now? We're going to cover a lot of that today. And is the Fed likely to drop the Fed rate? And will that help? Let's just tackle that right off the bat, okay? First of all, the Fed's not going to cut the Fed rate, and nor do we want them to. You heard me. We don't want them to cut the Fed rate. Listen, here's the reality. Inflation, or the lack of inflation, will bring mortgage rates down. That's what's going to do it. A strong economy is going to bring mortgage rates down. Dropping the Fed rate, I think, is going to drive them up. And you might go, that sounds a little silly, Bruce. Why would you think that dropping the Fed rate would raise interest rates? Here's why. First of all, you have to understand, why does the Fed raise or lower the Fed rate? What do they do it for? What's the purpose? They raise interest rates to slow the economy down because of too much inflation. And they drop interest rates to stimulate the economy. They want to stimulate it. They want to get more money moving. There's more people spending money. That's why they do it. So when you lower rates and people spend more money, that gives people a lot of encouragement. They feel good inside. They go out and they buy a new car and they spend money. Then we spend money, and then inflation starts going back up again. So when you drop the Fed rate, you're dropping it to stimulate the economy. It will work. Stock market's going to do better, but mortgage rates are not. Typically the case. Now, can there be a long-term effect? It can trickle down. It can, but it doesn't always. If you look at the last 3 Fed cuts that we've had, you will see that the bond market tanked. And what are mortgages tied to? They ain't tied to no Fed rate. I can tell you that. They're tied to mortgage-backed securities, 10-year notes, 30-year bonds. And this week we had a big bond sell-off. That didn't help interest rates either. So lots of opportunity out there for you folks. Lots of it. So don't think that the Fed rate dropping is going to help you. 407-706-3313 or 813-213-4009. Maybe you're thinking about refinancing right now. Could be an opportune time, may not be an opportune time. Well, why would he say that? He's in the mortgage business. Doesn't he want more mortgages? No, he doesn't want more mortgages. He wants you to know you can count on him. I don't know. Why am I talking about myself in the third person? I have no idea. It's what happens when you get older. You do a lot of weird stuff. So I really feel that now is still a good time to refinance for some of you. But you have to be careful when you're refinancing. And most lenders are going to encourage you to do it. They don't care whether it's right or not, or the right timing. See, first of all, you can't time the market. I can't time the market, and I'm an expert. However, I can follow more trends. I have more insight than the average person does. Crystal ball, negative. But who put a list together of clients that were on a waiting list to refinance and told all of them, like 500 of them, don't refinance yet? Who did that? Bank America? No. Rocket? No, not Rocket. Nope. Your credit union? No, they didn't do it either. Let's think about who actually says maybe you should wait. Oh, I know. Who's that guy? The Lone Ranger guy. He's the idiot that told everybody to not refinance. Why? Because it wasn't right. When did he tell you to do it? When it was right. A week ago Friday, leading up to that. Now's the time. Get your application in. Get me your docs. Do you know that I had people that I had on the waiting list, got them ready to go, couldn't make a decision on the rate? Now they can't do it. Now it's not worth it again. You got to wait it out and hope they drop again. Listen, the reality of it is that typically the strike zones last for 1 to 3 days. 1 to 3 days. That's it, Bubba. So if you think that it just, all of a sudden they're dropping, this ain't COVID where everything dropped to 2.5% and 3% and stayed there for 4 years. Yeah, I know they were great for us to get those rates, but they didn't help the economy. And that's what we're paying for today, folks. Your low interest rate. That's what we're paying for. It didn't help the economy. It was a big mistake. And that was only due, that wasn't because that mortgage bonds were so low. It was because the government was buying mortgage-backed securities because the private sector wouldn't do it. And they were afraid and they wanted to stimulate the market and they overstimulated it. Nobody needs 3% interest rates. You don't need an interest rate really on a mortgage less than 5%. 4.75 at the lowest. Now, don't get me wrong. I got a 3% interest rate on my house too, and I'm not crying, but it doesn't help the economy. It slows things down. Then what happened is nobody bought a home. Then everybody was in the golden handcuffs because they had a home. They had a 3% rate and rates got to 8.25, 7.5, 8.25 after 2022. And so what happened? Nobody did anything. But if rates would have been 4.5 during COVID and then went up to 5.5 and then went back to 5, nobody would have known the difference and the world would have been fine. More people should listen to me. I'm a high school dropout. Okay. My folks died. My mom, when I was 15, my dad died 8 months later from a heart attack, 16 years old, orphaned at 16, quit school in the 10th grade, quit school. And I don't even think I probably went to many of my classes in the 10th grade anyway, because my mom had just died. And I wasn't doing it. And I don't tell you that to sympathize. I have a great life. I live a life I could have never, ever guessed. High school dropout. I run a multi-million-dollar region for cross-country mortgage. I'm blessed to be able to have listeners like you and meet great people like you and develop those relationships and trust and help you and your friends and your family and your kids and now your grandkids. That's what life's all about right there, folks. That's what it's all about. But I've seen those cycles. I've been through all the cycles. I got into this business in 1988. Okay. Was shortly after that, we had Gulf War. Then we had the recession in 2008. That was a killer. And then we've had COVID. We've had several little things in between then. You know what? They're opportunities. And you know the biggest mistake that I made? And I'm going to tell you, I told you earlier what Warren Buffett said. Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. What do you think people are right now? Just ask yourself, what do you think people are? Fearful or not fearful right now? Most of them are fearful, but there's no need to be fearful. It's false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. Do you know that 80% of the things that we fear don't come true? 80% don't come true. So we fear and we get ourselves worked up. Instead of saying, like Warren Buffett does, that's an opportunity. You look scared now. It's just like Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank. He's looking for that blood in the water. And he should. He's a businessman. He's an opportunist. You should take advantage of blood in the water. If you see an opportunity, you should do it. So let's go back in time. Let's just go, because most of us can't go back before the recession. Okay. You might go back to the 70s, but you don't remember crap from there and you know it. So I don't. Come on. That Pink Floyd concert I went to in 76 did a lot of damage. So we don't remember that stuff, but we do remember the recession, 2008, leading up to it. Oh, everybody was rich. They were all making money and flipping houses. And boy, money was flying, and people that didn't ever have money now had money, and they were flaunting it and buying them big $600,000 houses, and they couldn't even afford to buy a McDonald's, but they got it because there was 100% financing, no income qualifying, crappy credit welcome. That's terrible. But what happened? The market crashed. It was another bad idea, just like low rates in COVID. Bad idea. But what happened after that? Fear. Oh my God. Now I can't make that mortgage payment. I'm getting foreclosed on. There's short sales everywhere. It's horrible. But you know what the rest of us did? We went and got, oh my God, this is so terrible. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Even though we're making our payments, it's still hard. You know what we should have done? Bought a crap load of properties. That's what we should have done. Because you know who did back in that time period? Blackstone. They weren't buying property. The U.S. government came in and told these hedge funds, hey, look at, how about you guys invest in real estate? You can get a real good deal. And you know what? They did. And that launched them. And now the government's a little concerned they own too much real estate. And that's a big issue. We can talk about it sometime too. Bruce Woodburn, Cross Country Mortgage. I am the Lone Ranger. You can reach me now in Tampa. My friends on the bone at 813-213-4009. That's 813-213-4009. Or WeBringYouHome.com. You can go to my podcast and listen to my podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify. Go to my YouTube channel at Bruce Woodburn, the Lone Ranger. You got it. Bruce Woodburn, the Lone Ranger. Hey, there's some guy in Canada that sells car loans and he goes by the Lone Ranger too. I don't trust these Canadians, man. You got to watch them. They're drinking a lot of Molson and eating lots of maple syrup. I don't know what they're doing. They're very sticky people. So Lone Ranger YouTube channel. I know it's ADD, guys. You can live with it, can't you? Can you imagine my poor wife with me around all the time? It's got to be very frustrating. I can imagine. Yeah. And you guys only listen to me for an hour a week. Can you imagine living with me? It's got to be difficult. I even have trouble with it, but that's me. Orlando, 407-706-3313. That's 407-706-3313. Bruce Woodburn, Cross Country Mortgage, the Lone Ranger podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube channel. I'm telling you, I'm trying it all. And I'm 66, man. I'm trying all this. So you got no excuse. And I'm working 7 days a week. So you know what? Let's have some more fun. We're talking about a lot of things. Right now, you know that there's still some great first-time homebuyer programs for you goobers that are still renting. And if you have a goober that's still renting, do me a favor. If you died right now, are they going to get any money? Just think about it. If you said yes, and you're a parent or grandparent with adult children, I want you to stop it and give them their inheritance while you're alive, but you're going to do it in a very strategic way. What we're going to do is we're going to give them money, but it can only be for real estate. And then once they do that, you change their life. Because once an owner, always an owner. And don't tell me, oh, I knew somebody that lost their house, they'll never own again. There is outliers, okay? But you're not an outlier. And you don't want to be a dumb either. You want to get in the game. You want to get in the game. Again, I already confessed to you, one of my biggest mistakes is not buying a bunch of real estate back in 2008 through 2015. You'd have killed it. Killed it. They were totally on sale. You know what else? I sold property, 5 of them in 2018. I know, what an idiot that was. But I thought I'd scrape some gains. If I would have just held off another year and a half, COVID hit and they went up by 50%. It's incredible. My name's Bruce Woodburn. I'll be back in 5 minutes with more of the Lone Ranger Show. But write my number down so you can call me at 407-706-3313 or 813-213-4009, or go to WeBringYouHome.com. That's WeBringYouHome.com. I'm going to give you an example when we come back as to why it's more beneficial to buy now and not wait. And I'm also going to talk to you folks, and I'm going to talk to the folks that are looking to refinance right now, and we might just pump the brakes for just a week or so. So I'll be back in 5. Don't go anywhere. Don't turn the channel. Don't get out of the car. Just stay there.